As you're listening, don't forget to check out the Professional Amateurs podcast on YouTube. And while you're there, hit like and subscribe so that you never miss an episode. Hello everyone, welcome to episode 37 of Professional Amateurs. Just me and Ryan again today. And yeah, we got a whole bunch of hockey to talk about this week. Sort of reaching that mid-season, I don't even know if I want to call it a lull. It feels a bit early to call it a lull. It's usually around the 40 game mark.
You're kind of getting ahead of yourself too. We're 20 games in here. It's quarter way.
No, I know, but like I would argue that like between 30 and 50 games is like mid-season lull. Well, like, I mean, not argue, because that literally is mid-season.
But we're not at 30 yet either.
Yeah, I know, but we're getting there. Like, we're getting to the point where we can, like, you know how everyone always says, like, American Thanksgiving is pretty much like, if you're not in the playoffs, you have a shit chance. Isn't it like 75% of teams in the Cap era have made the playoffs that were in the playoffs as of American Thanksgiving?
Sounds about right.
And, like, if you look at the standings right now, like, the teams that are there are probably going to be there. Like, the only one, there's probably one significant outlier in terms of a team that I would like boot from the playoffs right now, and that's Detroit. Like, Detroit's currently in the first wildcard spot. Like, the Islanders look awesome. New Jersey's not going anywhere. Those top three in the East are as expected. And you'd think that Detroit sort of falls off at some point, and then either the Rangers or the Panthers sort of hop into that spot.
Yeah, I agree.
And I mean, and then in the West, maybe you'd say Seattle. I personally wouldn't, because they look awesome and they're getting average goaltending, which is all they need. And then like Edmonton, Calgary, like they're going to be there. So maybe there's two or three teams at the most that I'd be like willing to say I think there's a chance they don't make it. Other than that, like all of the preseason locks are pretty much in the playoffs right now.
Yeah, I agree.
So when I say mid-season lull, I don't mean that it's actually mid-season. It's just that like
fair enough.
There's not going to be a lot of movement, and that's the thing is with the stupid loser point that like ruins any sort of playoff races and stuff.
Yeah, it like taking a look at it, you are right. It's pretty much exactly the teams you would expect to be there outside of like Seattle, pretty much. Like I still think Minnesota might get back up in there too. But it is interesting how it's kind of settled after. It felt like the first few weeks were just absolute madness.
And what's happening with Seattle is basically what people were expecting last year. They were expecting like a good hockey team, and it didn't happen last year because they got historically bad goaltending. And this year they're riding Martin Jones. Like, just I'm looking at their stats page, which I haven't really done this year. And Martin Jones has 18 starts to Grubauer's 5. So I don't know if there's an injury in there somewhere, but like.
Yeah, Grubauer was hurt for a long period of time.
Okay. I didn't know that. I was going to say that's hilarious if Martin Jones is stealing the starting role.
It's wild. Like, they are getting the goaltending, but the craziest part of it is that it's Martin Jones. Like,
and it's still not even good.
He almost single-handedly handed Timmy Stützle to the Ottawa Senators. Like,
yeah. Well, like, his save percentage is only .893. I don't know if he's been playing better lately. Like, again, like, West Coast team kind of. Okay, he's had 2 brutal games in his last. Like, he gave up 8 goals last night. There's our perfect segue. LA, Seattle, 9-8, absolute barn burner that Seattle took in overtime. I was getting ready to go to bed, and it was at the end of the second period, and I think it was 7-6 at the end of the second period. No, it was 8-6 at the end of the second period.
He went to overtime too. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was 8-6 at the end of the second. LA scored 2 in the third, and then it went to overtime to make it for the final score to be 9-8. And I was going to bed, and I was like, do I stay up to watch this? Like, this is awesome. I didn't, because like, it was like after midnight, and it was at intermission. So I was like, I'm not waiting around for a period right now. But
I was almost the exact same reaction. Like, I was just heading to bed, and I think I scrolled past it, so I checked it out for a second. But like, I haven't even checked it out this morning yet too much, but like a 90 game that goes to overtime, like that has to be one of the more electric regular season games in like recent history.
It's got to be up there, right there with what was that one between Toronto and Detroit? Was it 10-7?
Oh yeah, that one was nuts.
That was last year, right?
No, that was a few years ago now.
No.
Maybe I'm thinking of another Toronto Detroit one, but there was
That
a
had to be that was last year. I'm telling you right now, that was last
yeah,
year.
you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of another one.
Okay.
I think it might be Toronto versus Carolina. That was a few years ago. That was just absolutely insane or something.
Eberle had 4 assists. Beniers, McCann, and Burakovsky each had 2 goals.
Yeah.
Wenberg had 3 points. Is that Justin
I,
Schultz? Oh my
I,
God, Justin Schultz plays for Seattle.
yeah.
Um,
I went to the stats page because I was like, somebody had to have gotten a hat trick, right? But
no
nobody
hat tricks.
nobody got one.
4 guys had 2 goals. Doughty had 3 assists. Fiala had 4 assists. Oh, this was the other thing I wanted to talk about. I was blanking on the first thing that I wanted to talk about. Drew Doughty's back. Like he's been awesome this year. He was playing so well last year before he was injured, going into the playoffs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I forget how many games he missed last year. He missed a good chunk, and then he missed their playoff series. Yeah, he only played 39 last year. But it's just so good to see these massive contracts on guys like Doughty and Erik Karlsson like not be loaded albatross contracts.
What is Doughty's career highs? Do you know
In terms
that?
of points in a season?
Yeah.
Looks like it's 60, and that's the year he won the Norris.
Wow. Yeah, he's already at 15 in 25.
Yeah, so that's about a 50-point pace.
Yeah.
But I mean, like the guy's 32 years old, so like, I don't know. I just think it's because we grew up on these players, right? So it sucks to see guys like Doughty and Erik Karlsson and sort of regress even when they're still making the massive amounts of money that they're making in terms of like being the top paid defenseman in the league and second top. Doughty's second behind EK. Just seeing them sort of be revived, and it's really an indicator that it really was injuries kind of derailing those guys' career, and it's cool that they're both playing really well. Like Doughty's playing 26 minutes a night, which is awesome.
It would be really cool if like the Kings could go on another run and Carlson gets traded to a contender or something.
Oh yeah, and have them back in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be very cool. But yeah, so 9-8 blockbuster last night. Just wanted to mention that. Colorado lost 5-0 in the Jets.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I wanted to talk about Alexander Georgiev, and he gives up a 5 spot last night. He was playing insane. Have you been following his season so far?
Not at all.
He had a 9.33 save going into last night. It's down to 9.26, but still, he's been elite for Colorado. And I mean, I don't know if that's a thing that you want to take with a grain of salt. Like I think you and I could walk into Colorado and put up a 900 save percentage, but yeah, so still stellar goaltending. Hellebuck with a 40 save shutout last night. He's probably the leader for Vezina right now. He's got Winnipeg back from the doldrums of the middle. Yeah, he's back. He's one of those like Vezina 1 year, sort of like 905 save percentage the next year kind of goalies. And he has been for a little while, but he's back to his Vezina type self. He has a Vezina, right? Hellebuck?
Yes.
He must. I can't remember if he has one or not. I think he does. My official prediction is that he does.
Okay.
But yeah. Okay, while you look for that, I think a natural pivot point from talking briefly about this going through the games quickly last night, just to sort of give an update, because it was kind of a sick night of hockey last night. Talking about Hellebuck's sort of like Vezina resurgence. Another guy who's sort of big time in the Vezina conversation, I would say, is Jake Ottinger. His numbers aren't quite there. I think he's had a couple bad games in a row. He's had a 917 save percentage. He's had 2 stinkers in a row. He gave up 5 goals to Winnipeg on the 25th and then 4 goals to Chicago on the 23rd. But this is a guy who's like 24, still coming into his prime. Had his massive playoff series last year. He's 23, he turns 24 in December. But like I kind of just wanted to touch on Dallas because like Ottinger's part of that core that they essentially drafted in 2017, like their entire core, they just drafted in 1 year, like whatever, no big deal. And they just signed Roope Hintz to an 8-year extension worth $8.45 million a year. And I was wondering your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I personally think it's a good deal. I don't have his stats right in front of me, but I saw somebody lay it out on Twitter pretty nicely that showed his progression from year to year, and it's been like pretty solid jumps for the past 3 years or so. And putting him on pace to be like, I think it was like a 40 goal scorer or something like that, or close to it. In one, oh yeah, last year he got 37 goals.
Yeah.
So I think it's a very solid deal. He's progressed. How old is he? Right,
I think he's
26.
24. Oh, he's 26. Okay.
26.
So this locks him up basically through his prime years, which is
So you're hoping he stays around that 30 to 35 to 40 goal scorer essentially, because
which I think is a safe bet considering the
yeah,
guy he's going to be playing with. Like he's not going to be separated from Jason Robertson, and Jason Robertson's not going anywhere. In
100%.
terms of production, I actually didn't realize. I thought Roope Hintz kind of came out of nowhere last year. He had 43 points in 41 games in that weird 56 game season with
Yeah,
the divisional bubbles.
he's been
So
super under the radar.
yeah, he was over a point a game 2 years ago, and then last year he exploded, 37 goals in 80 games, and then
Even the year before he had like 19, basically 20 goals. Like,
yeah, in 60 games. So
yeah.
like that's a 25, 27 goal pace.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think it's a great contract. It's kind of one of those though where it sneaks up on you because you see the number, you see the name, and you're
Hmm.
sort of like, oh, like that's an interesting one because
Yeah.
like Roope Hintz just isn't a guy I have in that $8 to $9 million echelon.
Kind of like it was my same reaction to the Tage Thompson contract, kind of. Like it was similar in the sense that like I knew they were good players, but like, whoa, it made me go check a little bit more.
Yeah, like yeah, and those are the best ones when you
Yeah.
see a guy sign and you're like, oh, interesting. I'm gonna go look at
Mhm.
his numbers and see like sort of what's up with that guy because again, like it's hard to follow everyone in the league and know what
Yeah.
everyone's doing. But yeah, no, I saw it was a tweet this morning, and this is probably redundant information, but like it was discussing how Dallas has Heiskanen signed through like 2028, now Hintz signed through 2030. Robertson signed through 2026 and then Ottinger through 2025.
Hmm.
And like that's kind of their core four right now. And like that's literally one guy at each position. Like it doesn't get better than that.
Yeah.
Like
They
they're so set. It's so cool.
they were able to kind of break through this. I don't want to call it irrelevancy because they were in the playoffs and winning rounds, but it kind of felt like they were stuck at that point. Like they were never going to get to, well, not never because they did, but it
You got to the
was,
Stanley Cup final, I always forget.
yeah, I always forget that too. Like again, maybe that's just Dallas being on the side of my mind when it comes to the NHL, but they've been able to kind of push past this older core and integrate new younger pieces that are breathing life into this team and bringing it to new levels. It's pretty cool to see.
It's been somewhat of it's been somewhat of a rebuild on the fly.
Yeah.
Like if you were to ever because like I think people look at the Rangers rebuild as being sort of a rebuild on the fly / like retool, whatever you want to call it. And but they bottomed out. Like they had a second overall pick and a first overall pick. Like
Mhm.
that's not necessarily fair in a vacuum because they did win a couple of lotteries, but they
Yeah.
were bad for a few years. And Dallas like wasn't really bad for a few years because in 2017 they drafted Heiskanen third, but they were
Yep.
also the beneficiaries of winning a lottery. I think they went from 8th to 3rd that year. So they were sort of like they would have had a top 10 pick,
Mhm.
but like they won a lottery to move up to 3.
Yeah.
And like being the 8th, having the 8th best lottery odds isn't that's not bottoming out.
Mhm.
Um but they got their franchise guy. They got Heiskanen. And then at the end of the first round that year, I think I want to say 28th, they got Ottinger in the first round. And then in the second round of that same draft, they drafted Jason Robertson 39th. And
Yeah.
so and then like 2 years later, they went to the Stanley Cup final, and now they're handing over the keys of the franchise to those guys that they drafted
Mhm.
in a year where they didn't even bottom out. So it's just kind of it's probably the most fascinating team construction that I've ever seen, especially today.
It's
Unless
it's
a
just
different
it's just essentially nailing on your draft picks. Like
yeah
everyone here and there gets one top 5 pick, but
Mhm.
then you draft two like franchise altering players
Yeah.
in the 20s and 30s. It's like that doesn't happen.
And unless I'm forgetting a situation or a team elsewhere in the league, like it's sort of unprecedented to see, because their former core was Sagan, Ben, Klingberg, and Ben Bishop, and Jamie Ben's making 9.5, still is. Sagan's making 9.85, still is. Klingberg was on his like sort of sweetheart deal, so not necessarily the same, but still. And then Ben Bishop was on that 6x6 that he signed as a free agent way back.
Mm,
And they went to the Stanley Cup final with that core. And now Bishop's gone as like he was an LTIR guy that they traded his contract to Buffalo. Klingberg's gone in free agency. And then Jamie Benn and Tyler Sagan had severely dropped off for a few years, and now they're both sort of back. Not necessarily $9 to $10 million players, but they're
mhm,
probably playing like $6 to $7 million players, which is more than they were getting before, which has
mhm,
really fueled this sort of wicked start that Dallas is off to, fueled by this new core that they have. So it's a really interesting transition to see the former core and the new core sort of meshing together while they're all making big money.
mhm.
It's fascinating and sort of unprecedented. And I kind of love Dallas right now. Um, they're a wicked team, and I'm like, Miro Heiskanen's probably like one of my favorite players. So it's just a really cool team, and seeing that Hintz contract was just is really exciting. It'll be interesting to see how they fit all the money. I'm not sure about their cap situation. I know Jamie Benn is going to be off the books in a couple of years, but not next year, which is when Hintz's contract's going to kick in.
Yep.
All right, moving on. Last night, Matthew Tkachuk made his return to Calgary. He was booed initially whenever he touched the puck, which was funny. But then he got a tribute video and he got a little bit of a standing ovation, which is appropriate. Like that, you never see a guy get booed after he gets his tribute video. But it was actually really funny. My brother texted me during the game because I guess he was watching. I didn't watch it, but he was, and he texted me. He said, "Why is Calgary booing Matthew Tkachuk?" And I'm like,
I
what?
fully expected that.
Yeah, I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, like he was traded. Like it's not like he signed somewhere else as a free agent. And I was like, well, no, like he
He
asked out.
requested a
Like
trade.
it was very much, and he had no idea about the situation. I was like, okay, fair. I thought you're.
How do you,
I was like, what do you mean, Mason? Like, come on.
how do you
But
like
yeah, so
follow hockey and not know that?
yeah, I was like, it was the biggest story this offseason. So I kind of just laughed at him and then sort of ignored him because I was like, I'm not explaining this over text, but like,
Yeah.
just go read any article from the last like 4 months about the Calgary Flames and you'll find
Mm.
something about Matthew Tkachuk. You have a thought on Matthew
Not
Tkachuk's return?
not too much because like you, I didn't see any of it, but
Yeah, it
I
wasn't a very exciting game I saw.
it
Or
it
wait, that's wrong. It was 6-2
yeah.
Calgary. It was an uneventful game for Tkachuk. He had no points and they lost 6-2.
Yeah, I think it just kind of acts as like it Florida really kind of went all in with the trade, and we've seen this year now their defense is just with injuries on top of that, it's just not it. Like they're not operating at the same two-way level that they could have last year. Like they're still a crazy good offensive team on most nights, but they're getting exposed defensively now, and that probably has a huge part to do with the trade too, because you move out Uyghur and then you move out Huberdeau, who
Yep.
like it. I don't know. It just kind of, I guess, the 6-2 result kind of reflects the trade nicely, I guess, in my head.
Yeah, I think so too. Again, it's one of the it's the most like significant and unprecedented blockbuster trade I think we've ever seen or been alive for anyway. And so it's really, really interesting to see how the players and the teams are doing. Especially now that they're all locked into their contracts. Like it's never the comparisons are never gonna stop.
Mm.
And I'm so excited to see if the prospect Cole Schmidt turns into anything. I don't really know anything about him. It'd be cool if he turned into something. And what Calgary does with that first round pick in 2025. It's
Yeah.
because this is such a long-term trade. Like this isn't a deadline flip where like whatever the prospects turn into is whatever. Like this is a trade that's going to heavily impact each franchise for the next 8+ years. And so
Yeah.
those like sort of minor assets, I'll be really interested to see how they turn out as well.
Mhm.
I have a couple tweets that I want to look at, and then we can probably look at wrapping up the show. It's not a terribly eventful sort of pod in terms of
Yeah.
topics.
We're also in the dead heat of school, so
Yeah, it's this was a bit of a scramble episode.
we'll keep this short and come back re-energized in the new year.
Okay, so both tweets are JFresh. One has to do with Lafreniere, and one has to do with Connor McDavid. Okay, so the first one, he's quote tweeting a screenshot of a tweet from the other day. Through his first 130 games, Marc-Andre Fleury had more power play points than Alexis Lafreniere has in his first 130 NHL games. Marc-Andre Fleury had 4. Alexis Lafreniere has 2. And apparently, hear me out. Apparently, Rangers fans were defending Alexis Lafreniere,
They
referring to the fact that he plays under 2 minutes of power play time a night. And JFresh says, "Oh yeah, it like what was their respective power play time on ice, guys? He's a fucking goalie." That's his tweet. He said, "Oh yeah, you guys are gonna argue power play time on ice for Lafreniere, guys? It's a fucking goalie. It doesn't matter."
That's so incredible.
And I died. I saw that this morning. He tweeted it yesterday. And I don't know why I didn't send it to you. I think I wanted it to be like a surprise on this pod.
Rangers fans love to defend laugh. I see it on
Oh my
Twitter all
god.
the time too.
It'd be hard not to though. Like
I know, but like he just ain't it.
because a first overall pick, like you
Yeah.
just gotta ride with that guy.
Yeah.
Especially because the Rangers suck this year. Like they're like last year it didn't matter that Laff and Kako weren't good. Like the Rangers have lost more games that they've won. Like they are the epitome of fake 500 because they're 10-9-4.
Yeah.
Like they've lost 13 games out of 23. Like they are not a good team as of right now because they're not getting all-time great Vezina goaltending. I think Shesterkin's at a 913 right now, which is I think that's just over league average, and that roster needs elite goaltending to compete. But yeah, so that was the funny tweet. JFresh just sort of encapsulating his reply to Rangers fans defending Laff and just being like, guys, we're talking about a goalie here. Like, we're not talking about like this isn't even apples to oranges. Like, this is like an apple to a truck. Like, this is two things that are not anywhere close to similar and should never happen. Anyway, I think that's a hilarious stat.
What does his stat line look like this year? I honestly have no
clue. It's bad. I was looking at it the other day. I forget the numbers. If you want to pull it up.
He has 3 goals, 7 assists for 10 points in 23 games.
And what's his time on ice looking like?
You'll have to give me another sec for that.
Because he's gonna be an RFA after this season. Like, oh my god, I don't know. He's just not a player that I envisioned going through this in the NHL. I thought he would be dominant from day one because of how old he was when he came into the league. Like he was kind of an overaged draftee.
His time on ice is at 1550 right now.
Oh, it's so gross. He's got 10 points, 3 goals. Ugh.
Averaging 1 minute and 11 seconds on the power play.
Yeah. Well, technically, Marc-Andre Fleury's on the ice for all power play minutes. So, according to Rangers fans, that's enough to justify.
This year is 0 power play goals, 0 power play points.
Damn, that's actually insane. Okay, moving on to the next tweet that I found interesting. So Connor McDavid has 39 points this season, almost 2 points a game, and 11 of his points have been at 5-on-5, which means. Quick maths, 28 points of Connor McDavid's 39 points have come in non-5-on-5 situations. Check my math, but I think it's there, which means that 28 out of his 39 points have come either on the power play, shorthanded, or in overtime, or in 4-on-4, or does having an empty net count as even strength?
No, I don't think so.
I disagree. I'd be interested to find out.
I'm pretty sure like a 6-on-5 skater scenario, it doesn't count towards like 5-on-5 metrics. I don't think so.
I'd be fascinated to know that. I do not know the answer to that. Okay. Anyway, but is that not wild? Like,
yeah, it's insane. That one I did see, and I just could not believe it. Like it doesn't make sense.
McDavid is 59th in the league in 5-on-5 points. He's tied with Miles Wood and Pavel Zacha. And like McDavid's gonna cruise to another Art Ross. Like it's gonna happen. He's gonna put up 130, maybe more points than that, 140.
Not if
I want him to get to 150, but
not if Erik Karlsson has anything to say about it.
True. Or Jason Robertson. Those guys are pumping right now. Yeah. But yeah, no, so I just want to touch on that. I just want to touch on the fact that like what is that? That's almost 75% of his points have come at
and you just think about it, like all those special teams situations, like that's what, maybe a 10th of the game?
Yeah.
Maybe. Actually, no. 10th of the game was 6 minutes. So like
it's a little more, but you're not far off.
Yeah, like it's probably 20-25% of the game. And that's where 75, like it's literally switched.
Yeah.
Like 75% of his points come in like a quarter of the game.
It makes no sense.
Yeah. It just goes to show how dominant they are, I guess, with the extra man.
And in terms of his 5-on-5 minutes, 47% of his time on ice at 5-on-5 comes with Zach Hyman, 36 with Nugent Hopkins, and 27 of it is with Draisaitl.
Okay.
Those are his top three line mates at 5-on-5.
Nugent Hopkins is having a really good season.
He is. He did it. He had a good year last year too. He's just a quiet, like 60-point guy. Like
he's
year in, year out.
Underrated guy for sure.
50 to 60 points every year. If he wasn't a first overall pick, he'd be probably a lot more talked about. But since he was a first overall pick, people like to throw the I don't know. I don't want to say bust, but like the boring first overall pick label out, I guess. It's a shitty draft though. Like Morgan Riley's like the top guy from that draft. That was like taken top 10. I think there's other guys, but anyway. You got anything else? I think like we haven't even hit our 10-minute warning yet, and I'm kind of drawing a blank. Did I mention anything before the show that I wanted to mention that I haven't?
Not that I can think of, but you want to touch on Sens just for a sec because we abolished them last week.
Okay, what do you have? Or just
I don't know, like not much in general, just the fact that they're finally
on a 2-game winning streak.
Yeah, 2-game. Oh no, DeBrincat says 3 is a streak. So
they're not. I think anything more than 1 is a streak.
Yeah, I know at this point, but no, I stayed up for a few of those late games there, which was hell to see them lose, but it's fine. And like the whole time you were talking about Laugh, I wanted to bring up Stützle, so we can bring up Stützle.
Okay, yeah, we can talk about that overtime goal, his pass to Giroux, his like full ice backhand pass to Giroux.
Just the fact that he's above point per game at 20 years old.
Yeah, that too. Meanwhile, like Byfield's in the AHL and Lafreniere, we just touched on, has 3 goals and 2 power play points like ever.
Like it's just, I still think he has a long way to go with responsibility with the puck because sometimes it's still ridiculously frustrating to watch him. But like at the end of every game, he has like a point or two. Every game.
It's wild. He is racking up the empty net points though.
Oh yeah,
he's got at least 4. he has at least 4.
That actually can't.
He has at least. I'm guaranteeing he has 3 that I've seen in person, and I'm just assuming he has 1 in an away game.
I was gonna say because like when have they really been on an opportunity to score on an empty net? But like there was that 4-game stretch that you went to.
Yeah. And so so like if I had to guess, I think he has 4 points. I can like confirm that he has 3. And so I'm just assuming that he has 1 in the road games. I've had a hard time sort of being able to watch the road games because I don't make plans like around them like I do with home games, obviously. Yeah. So I haven't been able to catch them as often, but I want to like lock in the fact that he's got 4.
And Timmy versus Laugh tonight too.
Yeah, they've got the Rangers tonight. It's kind of I hate calling these games big, but like I don't know. The Rangers are a team that Ottawa's like I guess chasing. They've got 2 games in hand on New York. It's a home and home. So they play tonight and then they play Friday night at New York. And so like again, like I hate talking about this because it's kind of unrealistic at this point. But if Ottawa wins both those games, all of a sudden the Rangers are 10-11-4 or like 10-10-5, whatever. And Ottawa's 10-12-1 and 3 points back of the Rangers or 4 points back of the Rangers with 2 games in hand. And like the Rangers are the first team outside the playoffs right now. And so I don't know, like
it does feel far-fetched to talk about this kind of stuff right now, but it can add up quick. Like over the last 2 nights, Detroit lost, Buffalo lost, Florida lost, Tampa lost, Montreal lost, Florida lost again. So
yeah.
the last 2 nights, you've gotten some huge results.
Yeah, like I don't, yeah. So you said it feels premature or like, I don't know, maybe a bit naive to be talking about that stuff. But like, if there's any glimmer of hope, and like, I don't even care about playoffs anymore. I just want the team to like finish fake 500, like get me 82 points and I'll be happy. And like that starts now. Like you have to, like you're not just gonna make up those points in the last 10 games of the season. Like it takes so long to make up points in this league, and there's still 62 games left, 61 games left.
You have 6 results go your way over 2 nights that you don't play. You bet your ass you got to make those points count.
Yeah. So yeah, all of a sudden tonight feels like a big game, and like they've played well. They played the Rangers, or they played Vegas well. They played LA well, and they beat Anaheim. So
like right now they sit 9 points out with 2 games in hand.
What? That's such a ridiculous sentence. They're not. I don't like. I know what you're saying, but it's just kind of funny to lay it out like that. They're 9 points back with 2 games in hand.
Yeah, I don't know. Like you said, I expect Detroit to fall. We'll see where the Rangers go. I'm still not sold on Florida. Like I don't know if they're gonna make it.
That's one of those situations where they won the trade but got worse.
Yeah.
Like we talked about it earlier, and I think that's a big consensus in terms of like where Florida's at. Like they obviously, like I think it's pretty obvious they won the Huberdeau Tkachuk trade. Like that guy is a top 10 player in the league. Like he's dominant.
And yeah, sorry,
but the team got objectively worse. Like,
and like if you do look ahead of Ottawa too, right now Buffalo, Montreal, and Philly are all ahead of them. That's not gonna last.
They're gonna catch those teams, I think.
So all of a sudden you move up 3 spots and you're only a couple spots out.
Yeah.
So
so big game tonight. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know who's gonna be starting.
It's probably Forsberg. Or not Forsberg, sorry, Talbot.
Yeah, and then it's Halak's confirmed to start tonight. Did the Rangers play last night? The Rangers didn't even play last night, so they must be shaving Shesterkin for Friday. I don't know. That's weird.
I don't know the exact situation of it, or if it was just a few days ago, but I saw like a quote on Instagram that apparently Shesterkin was taking a loss, like really bad on himself. Like he met the media afterwards and he was like, "Yeah, our goalie didn't play good." Like talking about himself.
Yeah. I didn't see that, but I can see.
I don't know if he's having some confidence issues or something after.
Well, he's not playing well. I mean, like he's got a .913 save percentage, which like 90% of goalies would love and take and run with because that's above average. But this is a guy who has never been average in his NHL career or his KHL career because he was like an all-time great goalie in the K. And yeah, like I think his numbers were stellar prior to his last 2 games. He's given up 4 goals in each of his last 2 games. But I mean, again, it's a guy who this team, he basically has the weight of the Rangers franchise on his shoulders. Like if he doesn't make saves, that team does not win hockey games. And so it makes sense that he would take it hard. That'd be a lot of pressure. But oh well, I hope he gets lit up on Friday. So whatever. All right, you got anything else, Ryan?
No, that's all.
Alrighty, that'll do it for episode 37. Catch you next week for episode. Actually, catch you this weekend. Quick little Sunday episode.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully make that a consistent thing. But yeah, so we will reconvene on Sunday for episode 38.
Hit the outro.